how do I want to start this? I thought about this last night. We all go through life and we do things, and every now and again we have some regrets. And I think a person that's somewhat introspective, a person that's humble enough to acknowledge that they need to change directions or change behavior, is someone that's growing and looking for a better way. And with us this morning here on the show, we have two folks that had spent a part of their lives being part of the Trump followers and part of MAGA, and then made the decision that it was time to change course, change path. And with us this morning, we have Rich Logis and Courtney Ray. Rich is the founder and executive director of Leaving MAGA. I hope you guys heard that. Leaving MAGA. So welcome to the show, Rich, and welcome to the show, Courtney.
Oh, thanks, Richard. It's great to be with you. I've been on with Joan Esposito a few times as well. It's a great honor to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Courtney, good morning. Are you there as well?
Good morning. I am. Yes, thank you. I echo Rich's sentiment. It is such an honor to be here.
Well, listen, guys, if you've listened to any of our programming, but if you particularly listen to my show, I'm a hard-boiled guy in some cases, but I'm also a very understanding. We all fall down, but we get back up again. From the words of the gospel singer Donnie McClurkin. And I applaud you guys for being on the show, but also for putting together an organization that is really built to talk about the buyer's remorse, if you will, of having been part of MAGA and then literally creating an organization called Leaving MAGA. You guys can volley this back and forth, but tell us, maybe Rich, you start, since you're the founder, about the organization. What drove you to say, I got to start this and I've got to get behind it?
Sure. What Leaving MAGA is a new community for people who decide to leave, for those who might have doubts and uncertainty right now about their support for the president. And it's also an organization and community for friends and family of those who have relatives and close friends who are still in the thrall of MAGA. And I emphasize the word community because that's what MAGA was for me. It was really a second family. In fact, this second family oftentimes took precedence over my own blood family. And the reason I emphasize community is because I would really ask others and listeners to refrain from referring to MAGA as a cult. I do agree that there are some cult-like aspects to it, but if we refer to those who are in the MAGA community as cultists, what it's going to do is it's going to make it harder. It's going to make our job harder. It's going to make it more difficult to extract them out of MAGA, and it's just going to further cement that already strong bond and tie that they have with the president. And for those who have offered testimonials such as Courtney, you can find those at our site, leavingmaga.org. We have many stories of people who left. Everyone went through their odyssey on an individual basis, and we have more and more testimonials, Richard, which we are preparing to release publicly. So while we would like it to move faster, of course, for people to leave, we are doing everything in our power to accelerate the building the exit ramp and the new destination for those who decide to leave.
Yeah, a lot of times, and Rich, thanks for that. Thank you for that, and I want to come back to something that you said about the leaving part. A lot of times, change, and I've said this for many in my own life and personally and professionally, sometimes change is hard because you don't know where you're going to go to. And if there's not a place to go to, staying where you are feels like it's safe. It's comfortable. It's all those things that we, from a psychological and sociological perspective, use to protect ourselves. So leaving something without knowing where you're going to go can be scary as hell. So that's why I think what you guys have done in terms of creating a new space for people to go to, almost like a bridge from where they are with MAGA to whatever the next is. You guys kind of operate like a bridge. Would that be fair to say, Courtney? And tell us a little bit about your experience.
Sure. So I can't speak to Rich's experience as the founder of this organization. I'm just somebody that was able to give testimony because I was in MAGA, right? And it's been such an experience. For example, one of the young ladies that also is part of Leaving MAGA and has done testimonials, she and I live 20 minutes away from each other. We had no idea. We've now been able to connect in real life. We're working on that. And so building that community, to his point, is so important, because I find that, at least it was for me, a lot of being a Trump supporter was about validation. I was very young. I was a woman. Being a Trump supporter and being a woman is sort of an oxymoron, because you're literally going against your own best interests. But when you're doing that, to be validated by people surrounding you in a community, that doesn't matter, especially when you've grown up and maybe you don't have a lot of self-esteem, or you tie your self-worth on other people and what you're worth to them, which was kind of where I came from. And my journey out of that was not anything about politics. I did not cognitively say I want to leave being a Trump supporter. It was just being in therapy and just growing and realizing that my identity isn't tied to who I vote for, who I'm friends with even. It's my ability to change and grow and be open to new perspectives, especially those that might conflict with what I already believe to be true. And Leaving MAGA, that organization, is a safe space to land for many of us.
So, Courtney, and thank you for that. You said that self-esteem issues were some part of the mixture of things that were going on with you. Talk a little bit about that, if you can.
Yeah, sure. So for me, being the best at everything, getting good grades growing up, being chosen, being wanted, being validated by other people, especially men, was always something that was very important to me. My self-worth was directly tied on what I could do and what I could provide to other people, and then how they interacted with me. So when I was in MAGA, it was a lot of, I had voted for McCain in my very first election, so I had identified being a Republican, and that was, even though I didn't know much about politics at all, and that was during a time when I was in college where my peers were very excited to vote for Obama. That was so this collective effervescence of hopefulness, and I was on the outside of that, and it made me feel special. And I continued to dig my heels into the sea. I'm so different. I'm so much smarter than these libs that, that whole narrative. And I really dug my heels in. And then as I aged and started the dating pool, that really was met positively from men. I hate to say it like that, being like, oh, wow, you're such a cool girl. You're so much smarter than everybody else. You know so much about the world. You're a Republican. And that really became part of my identity. And that was where my self-esteem came from.
Okay. So that positive feedback that you got from the group, from the people, allowed you to kind of continue going down that path. And I think anybody could be susceptible to that, because, it makes you feel good, and it gives you a sense that, okay, I'm in the right spot because everybody around me is telling me that I'm okay. And then was that
100%.
Was that part of what was going on?
Yeah, especially when you compare yourself to the liberals that are so, they're bleeding heart. They don't know. When you're young, you have a big heart, so you're a liberal. But when you're older, you have a big brain, so you're a Republican. That's the things I was being told. And I ate that up. I wanted to do everything that I could to identify with that. I wanted to be smart. I wanted to be smarter than all of my peers. I wanted to be in the know. And it was very seductive.
Mm-hmm. Rich, and Courtney, thank you for that, because it lays a good foundation for what I think a lot of people forget sometimes, is that when you said community and not a cult, I think a lot of people were listening going, oh no, Richard, call him out on that. It's a cult. And I'm not that guy. If someone's acting cultish, I'm going to call him out on that behavior. But I do understand, because I talk about this a lot myself, about how we recover as a country starts with building stronger local communities and making the fight be about, if we connect in community, a community that's good for everybody, then we all win. Rich, you're saying that it's a community, and it sounds like, Courtney, you correct me if I'm wrong, saying a little bit of the same thing, that community, which could be three people, helping folks feel better about themselves, is what is one of the energy sources, if you will, to use my words, of being in MAGA. Is that true, or am I offbeat on this?
No, not at all. And we don't, as a species, want communal existence. We need it. And just like it's similar to Courtney's experience, when I was in the MAGA community, I did find respect and appreciation and vindication. I was a volunteer in the Trump campaign. I professionally produced a podcast after 2016. I was an aspiring MAGA pundit. I had bylines in places like Fox, The Federalist, some other sites. So for me, it wasn't just a hobby. It was truly a way of life. Forget about taking a day off. I never took an hour off from the MAGA community. And I understand, Richard, why some might say it sounds like a cult. I can understand that. And yes, there were some cult-like aspects about it for me, but it's important to recognize that because all of us need that communal existence, MAGA is a political community. It's not something that really has been seen in the modern era. And the reason for the devotion to the president is because he is the leader of that community.
Yeah. Hey, Rich, you've got some dinging or something going on in the background that's a little bit distracting, so I don't know what that is, but you might want to shut that off if you can.
Oh, really? Sorry about that. I wonder if it's my headpiece. Sorry about that. How's that? I just readjusted. Is that better? Much
better. Okay. So
sorry about that.
No. Wrap up that part of your point in terms of Trump being the leader of the Republican Party and the GOP, i.e. MAGA. Again, it's the affirmation that you're wonderful, you're great, nothing's wrong with you, this is our community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is that...
Yes, and to your point earlier, Richard, without a new place to go, even people who deep down know that they should leave are almost certainly not going to. So I give thanks every single day that when I left, which was on August 30th, 2022, that was the exact day I left because I published the mea culpa renouncing my support for Trump and MAGA and my governor, Ron DeSantis. I didn't have a place to go. I was at a crossroads in my life, and I just spent the next year recounting this story. And I didn't think, Richard, anybody would care, actually, about my own odyssey of leaving MAGA. That's the God's honest truth, and I came to realize people did. And to paraphrase the venerable American writer, my epiphany, Courtney's, the others whom we featured at in our organization, our epiphany happened gradually and then suddenly all at once. And we have to walk away from a community which makes it hard to leave. And the other aspect for me that was hard to leave is I had collected accumulatively years of beliefs that I came to painfully but liberatingly realize were wrong and inaccurate. And I had to change my belief system because I diversified my news and information sources when my doubts commenced. And I realized just how pretty much everything I had believed was a lie.
So that leads me to, you kind of answered a question that I wanted to ask you both. And so Courtney, we'll start with you since Rich just said what he said about that epiphany. What was, because sometimes it's a collective and then sometimes it's not. So I'll ask the question this way, Courtney and Rich. What was the moment or the thing that you went, I'm done? And I'm making an assumption here, Courtney, so let me back up. Assuming that there was one.
What a great question. It was during COVID, and the election was going on between Biden and Trump. And Biden was encouraging people to stay at home because it was a pandemic, and it was not safe to be around in big groups of people, right? Meanwhile, Trump was bragging about how huge his crowds were, as he does. And I just remember having this moment listening to him bragging about that. And I said to my partner at the time, we're in a pandemic, and he's bragging about getting thousands of people together during this time. And meanwhile, Biden is saying, screw the optics of a big crowd. I want to keep you guys safe. And I didn't like Biden. I was not a fan of his at all. And I said, that's a president. That's somebody who is going to keep us safe. And that wasn't the thing, but it was the thing that took my veil off, if you will. That added to, just some of the just egregious things that Trump would say daily, because he was on our TVs a lot more at that point. At least I was paying attention a lot more because of the worldwide catastrophe that we were all going through. And so I was hearing him a lot more than I think that I had before. Even though I loved him, it was in a different context. So that was really kind of what started it for me. And then I did vote for Biden, and it was this weird thing where I knew I couldn't lay my head down to sleep at night knowing I voted for Trump again, but I wanted Trump to win, if that makes sense. It's like I didn't want to be part of it. I wanted to be able to say I did not vote for him, but I'm happy he won, which is really weird. Mm-hmm. But I was still loyal to him, but I just couldn't bring myself to vote for him. And then J6 happened. And then I said, I am on the right side of history here. And I just remember breaking down and crying and realizing, to Rich's point, the hardest part is all of these beliefs, some of which you've gotten since you were born. You were born, your family, your parents, your community gave you beliefs and thoughts, and that becomes your identity. And going through and auditing those and being like, I don't know if I agree with this. Let's do more research on that. And then continuing to challenge those beliefs is really, really hard, because so many people tie what they believe in and what they support as who they are, and pivoting away from that and realizing that's not who you are. You can change that. That was the most difficult thing for me.
That is a recipe for self-reflection and introspection, Courtney, like I haven't heard from somebody in a long time. And I believe you guys would both would agree with me, not that I need to be agreed with, that more people need to do that. Because what was going through my head, Courtney, as I was listening to you describe that, I had this visual of a person standing on a sidewalk and having a choice to go one direction or the other. And like I said a moment ago, and Rich said this as well, if you go in one direction, you're leaving certain things behind that have been your identifiers. If you go in the other direction, you're leaving certain things behind that have been your identifiers. So the choice is you have to leave some things behind. It's just a question of what are you willing to let go of. And you obviously had to go through that struggle, and then you had evidence. I like what you said too, Rich, that a lot of the things that you were getting, the information, the data, was like, wait a minute, this is skewed. This can't be right. And then you started getting different data, and you went, oh, wait a minute, I see, compare and contrast. And Courtney, it sounds like you had a little bit of that as well. And J6 was that may have been well, you'd already voted for Biden, but that was the moment that you really, it seemingly accelerated your new belief system. Would that be fair to say, or am I off?
No, that's 100% fair to say. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Rich, take us home, man. I mean, I'm going to have you guys back. And can I say this way, for those who are listening, we need to have this kind of, what's the word I want to use? We need to have this kind of exposure and commentary from people who've been through something that others haven't been through. You guys have been through something that other people haven't. And you've said, change of direction, got to do something different, and then be a bridge to help people go in that direction. So I would definitely want to have you guys back on the show again to talk more about this, because your organization, Leaving MAGA, is a tool. It's a resource. It's a new community to help people that have been in this struggle. And Rich, if you can wrap us up by answering this question, it's a big one. Why are people still there?
hard to walk away from something that's your identity, your being, your personhood, your way of life. And the fact, Richard, is I'm not saying this because it's our idea, but I am unaware of another way to empower people to leave other than them seeing those who were once fellow MAGA compatriots who said that enough was enough and it was time to leave. It took me a lot of reasons to leave. It was COVID mismanagement, the election lies, January 6th. It was Ron DeSantis platforming anti-vaxxers. But my final straw was May 24th, 2022. It was the Uvalde school shooting. And I'm a firearm owner. I carry a firearm actually daily where allowed by law. And that was the final straw for me. I quietly left, but something was gnawing at me because I was always very unapologetically public in my support for Trump, and I decided I needed to be public in my renunciation of MAGA and Trump and Ron DeSantis. And one last point, if I may make, and it's related to the Cole comment, complements it. There are a lot of MAGA Americans, Richard, who are going to realize that Trump is not fixing anything for them. And even though it belies our sense of urgency, I would implore everyone, please be patient and resist the temptation to say, I told you so. Because when they start to have their own uncertainty, we want them to know about the exit ramp, the new destination, and the community of Leaving MAGA, where they will be welcome. And there's only one non-negotiable mandate. Someone must take responsibility for any past actions and rhetoric that may have hurt anyone. We have no ideological purity test. Courtney, anyone else with us does not have to vote a certain way or register a certain way, but accountability for prior decisions and statements that may have harmed others must take responsibility for that. So I'm happy to come on at any time. People can find us at leavingmaga.org. We've got our media. We've got a little bit more of our story. We've got a free ebook, no strings attached, with a blueprint on how to reengage your friends and family in MAGA. So visit us, leavingmaga.org. My email's there. I respond to everyone.
Well, listen, guys. This is the first. This is the first show of the second year of my show. So it's the beginning of my second year. And
congratulations.
Well, thank you. I say
Congratulations.
That. Thank you, Courtney. And I don't say that to pump me up. I say that because kind of the universe steps in sometimes. I believe that. And in this case, to start off the new year of Choose Views, to have you two guys on to say that we can move in a different direction. We can fix this if we create community. Gives me a lot of additional encouragement about how we can fix this. So I want to thank you both for having the courage to be on, doing the work that you're doing. We are going to have you back on the show because people need to know that there is an off-ramp. There is a bridge to a new destination, and I applaud you both for the work that you're doing, and I look forward to having you back on the show. Does that sound okay?
That sounds lovely. Thank you.
Sounds great. And Richard, one last point, if I may. It is still trending on TikTok, Leaving MAGA. So more and more are discovering us, and I'm so excited for what's going to happen.
Right on, Rich. Right on, Courtney. Thank you both for being with us. We'll have you guys back. Both of you stay safe out there. And anytime you want to call in and talk about things that you're working on, just let us know and we'll get you on, okay?
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
All right, guys, stay safe. Great to be with you.